Word on this computer. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who are joining us online. Waiting for everyone to connect. All right. So I'm Amy Anderson with the West Central Minnesota SBDC. And we are being hosted by Joe Clausen with the Pelican Rapids Chamber. Joe, would you like to say anything about the chamber?
I want to say thank you for chamber membership and all of the people who will hopefully be viewing online this excellent workshop with Ryan Tungstev on website basics. Please plan on connecting with the SBDC and you'll get marvelous coaching and help for your business career.
Terrific.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, as Joe mentioned, I'm a consultant with the SBDC, the West Central Small Business Development Center. Talk a little bit about my background. I am the owner of several small businesses. So we mostly in the marketing side of things, website development, social media marketing, and print and signs. My degree is in advertising, and I graduated in 1998. So you guys can, from college, you guys can figure out how old I am, but
I'm older.
right at the peak of the dot-com boom. So when my first 2 years of college was all print stuff, we learned how to make plates and take photos. And the second 2 years were learning how to use the computer to do all the things we learned to print. It was the era there. But when I graduated from school, I worked at a software development company, and the programmers wanted to concentrate on creating software. And so they taught me how to code HTML so I could take care of the website. That was the start of my career in doing web projects, creating websites and design. So that was a few years ago, a little bit of experience in the back. I've been through a couple other businesses in the meantime, and the coding that we did in 1998 is nothing compared to what you do on a website now. I couldn't even touch her. I can go in and look maybe and understand a few things, but now they program for real. So that background, let's talk about when we're considering a website, when we're looking at building our website or making changes to our current page. The first thing we want to analyze is the strategy for our site. So what do we need from the website? And there's a lot of different ways to look at that. And some websites can have all the above or parts of the above, but typical websites will be a splash page. You see a lot of these now. It's a single page. You're not clicking off, but it will have about us and some general info, contact us. And it's just a scrolling website, which is your basic retail site. Under those, a lot of those are going to be your informational, but informational is going to be your most common business website right now. You can kind of think of it as a brochure, and we'll dive more into that as we go through. But then you have your blogs, which are reporting, a way to talk about industry news or follow up, a diary of sorts, and those range anywhere from people who just have their personal blog or a fitness blog, all the way down to reporting on tech news or blogs that report on current events. I follow a blog that's all financial news, and so on those, and there's certain websites we can dive into, but a big one right now called Substack, which a lot of people are making a very fine living just writing blogs on Substack, and a way to write that. The next would be a sales page. So this would be much more direct sales, trying to sell something through your page. A retail storefront. We have lots of websites out there that are just your retail store page. Inventory management is one that we probably don't think of. A lot of these are going to be hidden behind something else, but a way for a company to go into their website and see what do we have in stock, what's in our warehouse, what's in the back end. And then SaaS is software as a service. We run into these. I'm sure you guys have some subscriptions that you're paying a monthly fee for under these. Zoom is one, which we're on right now as a software as a service. I use a tracker called, or a to-do list called Fellow. What are some of the other ones that I just paid for? A CRM, a customer relation management website, would fall under these software as a service. But these are all things where you want to start. What is my website? What do I have? What am I going to create? And there's two ways to approach creating a website, or really creating anything, and that we can sit down and do some analysis and really do a deep dive and decide what do we need and take those notes, or we can start and create one of these and as it evolves, shift that strategy and try and pivot and figure out where we're going. But without an idea of what we need initially, it's going to be hard to, just going to be throwing darts at the wall and hoping they stick, right? So let's start with the website as a brochure. I would say most small businesses, this is your website. It's a sales page for your website. It's relational. You're teaching the public about yourself. You're explaining your expertise. What can you do? It's your contact info, whatever products you offer, services, depending on what you're selling, but kind of, you're not necessarily selling directly through the website, but it's a way for people that you meet or give your phone number, a way for them to go check and see if you're real. We can follow up on that. Also your location, they need to come there, contact info, here's how you get a hold of us. But the website has really become the modern brochure. So that's one type. The other major type of website is a website as a business. So these are transactional. We're going to process some sort of payment information on these websites. Again, very common, but Amazon, just about every major retailer has a transactional website. If we want Nike, we can go buy Nike shoes on 100 different websites, thousands of websites, including Nike's own, right? Or so that'd be like retail product sales. We had touched briefly, but software as a service. So HubSpot as a CRM, or Zoom, or any of these others, tracking software, different things that we can have. Our software as a service, generally these are going to be subscription based, and they're selling a service and you perform all your information. Well, another one, I'm using Canva for this presentation, a subscription-based service, and it's entirely built on the web. It's on the cloud. It doesn't matter what computer I logged in on. My presentations are there. Another way to have website as a business is training. Lots of people do training online, pre-record trainings. We're recording this training, and charge for entry or charge a fee to receive your training. We work with someone right now he does woodworking. So he's creating for 10 years, he was an apprentice woodworker in Norway, and now he's creating a training series on how to create these little, I don't even remember what they're called now, but these little bowls that you drink beer out of. Ale hands, that's what they're called. A little bird you carve out of wood, and that's what you drink your beer out of in Norway, I guess. Super cool. But yeah, so he's building the training program, and that will be sold then through a website. He has, the way you would market would be using social media or something else that way with the video. But if you want to learn how to carve, you got to buy the training series. The other one, the Shopify or Etsy, those are pre-built stores. So you kind of have a template to build off of, and you can put your retail items up onto those websites or those platforms that are kind of preset for you. Any questions on those two major areas of websites?
Feel free to drop questions in the chat group, and I can read them to Ryan if you have questions for our online viewers. And I don't think so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So once we kind of decide what we want our website to be, we need to start developing what's going to be on the website. So overall strategy will lead us to what is that site plan? What is that site map of what are the pages we need? What information needs to be on there? I guess I'm jumping ahead one there, but that site plan will also tell us what technologies do we need. If it's just a splash page website that's informational, it can be very simple.
Mhm.
There's website templates up there. You can have it built in an hour, probably. If we're going to put a store on with a bunch of products, we're going to need a whole different technology. If we want to have, if we have a hotel and we need reservations and we want email confirmations to go out when people reply, that's going to be a whole different set of
Mhm.
technology requirements. So we need to plan for each of those. And then once we have that site plan, we're gonna need to know what we're telling people. When they go to the page, what information do people need to know? And this can be a hard thing to look at when you're deciding, when you're planning what your website's gonna be. You know your company, right? You know, like Joe, you know your hotel, or I know my web development business, I know my consulting.
Mhm,
So I know what I know, but I need to think of it from the user's point of view. What do they need to know? What's the dummy version of what we do to be able to explain that? And I like to write those out and kind of plan each page through. Lately I've been using a lot of voice to text and just kind of write out or talk out what that page is supposed to say, and then go back and edit and say, okay, does this make sense? I also like to use my wife. She hates anything digital. And
Right.
so I'll have her read through
She's a
and say,
good test
does
audience.
this make sense to you? Because you don't know what I do.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
or those things. Once we kind of have that information plan, then we can look at what images or videos do we need to go along with that content? Do we need to create a video explainer or a plan? Is an image enough? Or do we, if we have products, do we need images of each product? How many images do we need of each product? Do we front, back, sides? What are we selling? Do we just need a beauty shot? You know, again, like doing, say, a VRBO or something along those lines, that we need different room shot. We need to see what the whole place looks like. Or for selling jewelry, do we just need the one beauty shot? If
Mhm.
we, depends on the product, and we need to plan those out. Then the last one, sorry, the window's kind of covering it, but sound would be another. Some websites use, some don't. But we want to consider it's definitely something we can utilize if we walk through people. Maybe it's a training website where we're showing something like this, where we have the presentation. What do we need for sound? What do we need to walk through? Can we talk through different areas? Or are there sound effects to set us apart as you click on something or move things? Those things
I
can
have a
matter.
question for you. Tell me
Absolutely.
about with the what technologies are needed. Tell me, how do I know what technologies do I need?
Excellent question.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on a lot of factors. So I would say it's hard to answer, but the best example I could give is if we're selling a product,
Mhm.
let's go to like you're going to sell your own jewelry.
Okay.
We're going to need some way to get photos taken and uploaded online. We need a payment processor. We need some sort of transaction in the background, or how are we going to collect? How are we going to collect shipping, or are we paying shipping?
Gotcha.
Are labels going to get made? Are labels made by the website and they print out and that's your packing slip? A hotel like Joe, what technologies do we need? Do we want reservations online, or do we want people to call us? If we just
Gotcha.
want people to call and book and we got a paper ledger, then we just need a phone number. But if we want them to book online, we need to have a
Some sort of
calendar.
connection
We
to
need
our
to know our
CRM.
availability. We need to know what's open and how long is it open. Can somebody book for 3 days, or are there only 2 nights available, and be able to provide those options? And then we want to take payment. How is the payment processed? receipts sent out, reminders of reservations or some sort of reservation confirmation sent. So all those technologies will weigh in, but it really depends on
The
what
type
we
of
need out
business.
of our website.
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Thank you.
Along those lines, we don't want to forget about mobile. I see this a lot. I will pull up someone's website on my phone, and as you can see, as of November this year, 56.2% of all website traffic is coming from mobile. So more than half. And websites look way different on mobile technologies they use, especially if you're using video or if you're using a heavy imagery site, they're going to look different. The layout changes. So you want to have some system in place to make sure that your mobile site is meeting the needs of people. But yeah, it's becoming a much larger percentage. What was it? 2015 was only 37.2%. So
Right.
in 8 years, it's almost double. 80% more.
Yeah.
So and a lot of we'll get into the different platforms for building sites and talk about the advantages and disadvantages, but some of the template sites that you can buy where you just kind of upload and you can manage your site, what they call WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get type of editor. A lot of those have a screen where you can switch to a mobile view, to your regular view, and you can move things around. And that's a huge advantage of using these. Perfect time. So there's a lot of ways to create your website. It used to be back in 1998 when I started, you coded HTML and you had to know HTML and you could add an image, maybe if you knew the image tag and put the same things on. Your links all had blue underlines on, and the web was very basic. That's still done. Custom programming is, I mean, you don't get Amazon.com from a template site. You're not building Apple.com from those. So there's still a lot of custom programming done, and to meet the needs of a lot of stores, major businesses, most of those sites are going to be custom programmed. For small business though, a custom site at the cheapest, you're probably talking $10,000. Probably 15,000 to get a custom site program for you, depending on the technology. That's out of the reach of a lot of the businesses we work with. So we look at some other options. WordPress is the oldest and was the most common for a long time. WordPress started as a blog site. They were mainly just blogs, and they added the technology to create more extensive pages. And so there's still, I'm not a WordPress fan, but I have an employee, Heath, who's a WordPress wizard. And so it really depends on the person, but WordPress does require some programming still. It's not a full editor. You need to know some of your sides, but you can also do a lot more with WordPress. So there's more flexibility in there depending on your skill set or the technology you're capable of and what you can do along those lines. Wix is the one that I recommend to most people. I use Wix extensively, built a number of websites. Wix, we'll look at each one of these, but Wix is a WYSIWYG edit. It's like using Word, everything. You pick a template and you start clicking on images and say change image. Squarespace, very similar to Wix. Squarespace is a little more rigid, but if you're building a store, a retail store, maybe like the jewelry example that I had, or you do some creation of your own. I used Squarespace when I was doing t-shirts and apparel extensively. Their store system is much better, in my opinion, than Wix has. So those, again, to your question on technology, those would be some things you want to research depending on what your website has, what makes sense. Since I was doing t-shirts on the web 6 years ago, both Shopify and Etsy now have come along and really changed that. Shopify, they have a large number of retailers now that are purely retail sites. They have similar to Wix and Squarespace, you can choose a template and just add your image,
Mhm.
but it's made to be a store. So a retail storefront for someone. So it becomes very easy. They have inventory trackers built in. The shipping is built in, you pay ahead of time. You have a balance in there that you print your label as soon as the order comes in. You get a packing list, you get a label, package it up, take the label on, wait for UPS to come, or or USPS or whoever you're shipping through, whatever your choices are. Etsy is more, I would say, for like the small creators, the advantage of Etsy, it's more craft items or vintage items, things along those lines, small, like a personal storefront rather than Shopify. I'm trying to think, there's some major brands that are using Shopify as their base. You can think of, who's the big sunglass one then? I see Shady Rays, I think, has Shopify. Some of those, like they're doing millions and millions of dollars through the Shopify space. Etsy is more of the small single creator.
Mhm.
What Etsy does better though is they have cross marketing. So if I go look for this little custom sign and I find it on Etsy, it will also show here's 4 other creators that make similar things. Maybe you like that more. So the cross marketing advantage of Etsy, but I would say it's more of the craft side.
Is there a need to have your own website if you use Etsy or Shopify?
Shopify is your own website.
It is a
so,
website.
yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
didn't realize that.
Etsy is different in that it's not your own. You create a page on Etsy.
Okay.
Where Shopify, if I have whatever
That is your
metalwork.com can be Shopify store and I could sell all my metalwork or whatever. And so, but if I was just selling maybe one-offs of a cool welded thing as metal work, right? I'd probably want to do that on Etsy rather
Okay.
than building out. The costs can be very different too.
Okay.
Though Etsy gets paid through a percentage of sales. So there's different things we need to consider on that.
Etsy is a marketplace, and Shopify is more just like a hosting site.
Yes, yep. Etsy is a full, a marketplace where you have similar to the flea market just up the road here, where
Right.
you're gonna have all these vendors under the Etsy marketplace and cross promote. Where Shopify, you are building your retail storefront on there. So you're buying their technology, but your storefront's on the front of it.
Okay.
So I have some images here of, I'll dive into Wix a little bit because I have sites created on there now that we can look at, but so Wix, you can see very similar to using Word or any other visual editor that we have. We can choose our font, we can choose our positioning, it's just moving them around. We have different pages. And again, I'll kind of dive into creating that in a little bit. Squarespace and Wix, very, very similar. So like I said, Squarespace is a little more restricted in where you can move images, and Wix is a little more freeform. And it just depends on what you like, what your preference is for ability to edit your pages. Examples of Etsy and Shopify. So again, Etsy being the marketplace, you're going to find different categories. It's not going to be necessarily, as people are searching for product, they might not necessarily be searching for your store. They might be searching in a product area. Where Shopify, we're going to have, this is my website. It's ryantunkseth.com or whatever it is, and that's going to be my website, and I'm buying Shopify to have the sales technology in the background. Some of the other things you can do with Shopify is if you are doing, say you have a third-party shipper, so you're bringing in product from overseas or something that way, you can use Shopify to store that, and they will ship for you. It might not be Shopify themselves, but they connect you with that third-party shipper, so you can import, you can have all your product listed and then ship out. Which reminds me, that's another one that I didn't mention, but Amazon also has the option, if you're just looking to do retail, you can be an Amazon seller and do the same thing, where you're providing the product photo and description, but it's listed on Amazon's website. So that'd be similar. Ooh, I'm missing a page. Where'd it go?
Oh.
I clicked too far ahead. I must have skipped to the end, sorry. It's this box.
The boxes, yeah, it's in the way.
Perfect, so WordPress again, so WordPress is kind of a combo of both, where you have of both Wix and doing custom or a Squarespace, or there's templates out there. There's all the different resources that you can use to create the different pages behind. So the technology, let's say you do need to do booking for something. You can do that on WordPress. There's plugins that are created. It's been around so long. People have written custom code to use on the WordPress platform. So you can purchase some work somebody else has done, or you can create your own. There's a lot more room to custom program on the back end of WordPress. But it's not a fully custom website, as we discussed before. So there's definitely a balance. It's not as easy, like, even though I have done a lot of web work, I don't like going into WordPress. There's more technology, more coding than I like to do. More things to put in, but somebody who does that background, hiring somebody with that expertise, there's a lot more things. For example, right now we're working with someone who has a campground, just started a campground, and they have both campsites and seasonal sites. And so, well, Wix has a booking function that you can use. So you got to pick. Do you have a 3-day reservation, or do you have a seasonal reservation? Do you have there's a 1-day reservation? You can only pick one option. There's not a customizability of it. So we had to take that platform and move it onto WordPress so that we could create a custom option. That being said, there's also, again, like software as a service, you can go find a site like CampSpot, or maybe even Google Hotels or something like that you can actually use as a plugin in a Wix site or something like that. So there's always technology options out there. But if you want to create a custom one, you can use WordPress to get the general outline, to get your site up and running, and then it still gives you the flexibility to build in behind it and to customize whatever you need that way. And again, a custom website, depending on your needs or what you're selling, what you're creating, it might be the only option that you need to create the custom site. If you say you have a golf course, you need to do tee times, you need to do booking, you want to have all these different options. You can either choose to use an off the shelf, which currently they charge a whole lot. On golf courses, they charge a percentage of your tee time, then maybe you don't want to pay for every tee time through there. It might be cheaper to try and build something custom, and you need to weigh those options based on your needs. You guys have questions on those areas?
And I'm gonna invite the folks online, if you want to unmic, feel free to unmic or drop your question in the chat.
I'll ask a question. How about as a professional, every professional sees their profession and sees the little flaws, the mechanic can hear that car with a weird whistle or whatever. So as a professional in the website space, what have you seen when you're out there shopping or browsing the internet as like some of the major flaws or common mistakes that a lot of businesses have with their websites?
Yeah, I would say the most common that I see, most common error with websites I see is not keeping them up to date. I think people feel like, oh, we posted that on Facebook, so everyone knows. Or we put that info out on Instagram, so And they don't even think of going to their website, or they don't know enough about their website to keep it up to date. So you look at, pull up someone's website and it's 8 years old, and nothing's been changed. It's not correct information on there. And there's certainly an argument that maybe people don't see websites as much. Usually, if you Google something, Google's going to give you Google My Business listing, which is extremely important to keep up to date. And that's probably going to get you, if they're just looking for your phone number, or they're just looking for your address, they're going to stop there. But if they want to know what you do, they're going through to the website. And so I think a lot of people look at their website as, I built it once. It's there, the info's on there.
Mhm.
But I'd say second to that then is making sure that what you're sharing on your website is valuable. Why put it up there if it doesn't have value? So what do people want to know about you and your business? What do they need to convince them to make a sale? Why would they come there? Or why do they need more info about you? Or what can you teach people? It all depends on what the business is, but that kind of goes back to that original strategy. When we build that, we really want to have a plan of, what is this info? What are our goals from this website? And then what is the content that will achieve those goals? Once that's done though, then it's constantly evolving. And that's the advantage of a website over a brochure, right? We print 3,000 brochures, we're gonna hand out 3,000, like our phone number changes, let's cross it out, right? On the website, we want to make sure that we're constantly changing that info as it changes.
Do you want to update your website any more than that? So if my phone number doesn't change, why should I change anything on my website?
Yeah, well, so depending on, I didn't dive into any of the search engine optimization or anything along those lines, but depending on how your business is found online. So it used to be that you had to be number one on Google, like that's what people wanted. We're going to pay for search engine optimization and we want to try and get to be top. 5 or 6 years ago, Google changed the algorithm on how they list sites, what gets listed, how does it do. It's much harder to do effective search engine optimization now than it used to be. And so one of the ways that you can make that work for you is through frequent updates to your site. It's why so many sites have blogs on the site. The more you post, the more Google likes you. The more you have links between your site and other links, the more you come up in search results. It's a verification of we are real, and it's frequently updated. But more than that, it shows we're still in business. It shows that we're still here, even so. I waylaid on the search engine. So there's two ways that you're going to find your website, right? Are you looking for customers that are going to search for cool shoes? Like, and I want to be in the first 10 results of cool shoes, or am I searching for Nike shoes or Nike run fast, whatever fancy shoe? That's going to be a whole different result. Or am I searching for hotel in Ottertail County, or am I searching for the Pelican Motel? Right? If I search for Pelican Motel, it's going to come up as long as we have our website there and listed, right? If I just search hotels, I might only get, so that's where we need to vary on do we need to be listed high, or do we have enough of a following? So for example, like my business, say my sign company, I don't care if people search sign company and we come up in the top 5. That's not, my target market isn't to randomly be found by someone on Google.
Right.
We're pursuing other marketing means to reach those, where we'll promote our website enough, but we don't care necessarily if they find it. Now,
But you might want somebody sign shop near me
to come up there.
Yeah,
Yes.
then you'd want to be close to the top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we utilize, like on our site, we have our Instagram feed automatically feeds into our website. So every time we post on Instagram, that post also uploads to our website, and those feed through. So there's different ways you can do save time, but keep things updating and moving through.
That's helpful.
Ryan, you were saying that Etsy takes a
question.
percent of sales.
I
Do
see one of our
websites?
guests, Rebecca, has unmuted. Rebecca, do you have a question?
I must not, can you not hear me?
And I don't know if I will be able to hear, or if you're asking and I'm not hearing, maybe just type it in the chat.
How big of a deal is your domain? So we jumped from Pelican Rapids Motel MN.com when we upgraded to a different property management system. We got a new website and it went to pelican-motel.com. How big of a variance is in it, the way it's searched or the way it's applied?
Yeah. I would say .com's always a preference. So there's hundreds of other options out there. So as a business, .com, if we can find a domain that's .com that makes sense, I'm always going to prefer that to a .net or I mean, you can, if you're a bank, there's lots of banks now using .bank, right?
Mhm.
But the other like a .co or a .net or those aren't as easy to remember, or it's easy to screw up, especially the .co ones. You automatically put an M on it and you can't find people. But the bigger thing is that once you have the domain, how you market it, changing a domain becomes a huge issue. So pick well, but once you have it, market it and it's fine. It's not going to affect necessarily your search results, but the easier it is to remember and to type in if you want people coming direct. But I can't remember the last time that I typed in the domain of any place.
Right,
Really.
just search it.
Yeah, I just searched the company name.
How important is voice recognition search?
I don't know. I haven't thought about that.
Because I've got, I don't know, some company bothers me all the time. Are you listed on so much voice recognition? So if you use Siri, you can say, Siri, find me a hotel in.
Oh,
Are you able? You know, I mean,
yeah,
I'm asking because.
sure. I have not even considered that or thought about it, so I don't have an answer for you, but now I'm gonna research it.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, I'm interested on that.
Rebecca did ask her question. She said, does Spotify charge a monthly fee versus the Etsy a percent of sale? So is it a monthly fee versus a percentage?
So Shopify, right?
Yeah.
She
Sorry.
must have meant
Yeah,
Shopify, yeah.
Yeah, so Shopify is a monthly or annual fee for the base, but there's no percentage off your sales.
Okay.
Etsy is a sales base. I'm trying to remember, it's been a little while since I've been on Etsy, but I did hear from somebody that they just really upped their percentage, but I think there is an option to just pay a monthly that reduces that.
Okay.
But Shopify is just a subscription base.
You
Okay.
pay for like plugins, so if you want like a 360 view of your product, that's an extra monthly fee, or if you want to accept Bitcoins at checkout, that's an extra, you know, so you kind of have a base pricing.
Okay. From the Etsy side.
Not
Or-
for like for Shopify,
Sure.
if you're on any of those like big commerce or any of those things,
Yeah.
it's kind of a base plus plugins.
Yeah.
And Etsy, up until I worked in e-commerce, it was a little over a year ago at this point, Etsy was like way cheaper from a transactional standpoint. It was way cheaper than Amazon, eBay, anything. Etsy was the cheapest for the sellers to sell on.
What, for the processing fee or overall?
Yeah, like overall sellers fees,
Okay,
it was way cheaper than Amazon.
yeah. And I know that was the case until like the last 2 months. And I've heard a lot of complaints that Etsy really jacked up their prices and maybe they were way too under
low.
what everyone else was. And so I don't know that that's true. I haven't gotten a look. I just know a few people who sell on Etsy that were looking at other options because of recent price increases, so.
What about those like free sites that you build on Wix or Weebly or Squarespace where you can build it for free and get the domain for free, but it's like .weebly.com?
Yeah,
Are those still like Google friendly, or are they just kind of the bare bones basics?
that's your bare bones basic. I mean, you can be found on Google if you have your business name and you're gonna be there. Wix has a free option too, where they have Wix branding at the top and the bottom. It says this site created on Wix. But you don't have to pay anything for it. So depending on what you're creating or what you're doing, it can, I mean, it's certainly a great way to get started. But that professional side just depends on what you need, you know.
It's oftentimes people's like first website, they'll build it themselves and it'll be .weebly.com or whatever, and eventually you grow into a different site, but you gotta start somewhere, I guess.
Right. Well, and that comes to, depends on if you are a planner, determined to have everything in place before we take step one, or if you're more the ready, fire, aim type of person, right? Get launched and see where we're going and be ready to pivot. And so depending on what you want, or, and also where you are, if your website's to portray you as the expert, right? Like I am the expert wood carver. I don't want my website to then say probably hosted on Wix at the top and bottom, right? I want it to be a professional website, how it portrays you. But if I just do cool wood carvings and I want to sell them, like Etsy might be a great place where everything says Etsy and that. And maybe it doesn't matter. It's more about the work we create, right? So those are all things that we want to weigh in that strategy side of what are we looking for from our website.
What would you say are some of the more effective ways of promoting your website? Like Google AdWords or images, or what would you kind of prioritize on that scale?
It's going to really depend on your market. So we want to weigh, you know, when you're promoting your site, who are you promoting it to? And then where are they? The most important one is the Google business or business.google, and get your business listing up to date, because that's where, if people search their name, you want your hours and your phone number and your website listed there. But then it's going to depend on who you're trying to reach. So if we go to like a small creator that just making art, I would try and do it all through an Instagram or Facebook, or try it through social media and try and drive images of my product that people are, whoa, that's cool. Maybe it's a Pinterest or something like that, where people then click and go to the website. If I'm a hotel, I probably am worried about search. Because people aren't going to know because they're coming to a hotel. They're probably visitors. They're not familiar with the hotels in the area. I want to be the top of a search for a hotel or motel in the area, because that's how people are going to find me. If I'm an SBDC or something that like a government organized, like I'm going to have to rely on my brand of teaching people what I do. And then when they search, they'll find my website, but it really depends on who you're trying to reach. So each person's going to be a little different that way, you know. And you look at, like, you take it up, like if it's Apple or Microsoft or whatever, the branding around that's much more important than, I don't think Apple cares if they're number one in a search for computers, right? But they're pounding their marketing and people are going to search apple.com, right? But again, going back to the domain name, if it was applecomputers.com, that wouldn't be as effective. So they would have to go try and get that domain name based on your size, right? So those are all things to kind of weigh as you go. Any other questions, thoughts? Do you guys want to see? I can pull up one of our sites in Wix if you guys want to kind of see the back end of what Wix looks
Yeah,
like.
let's take a look. That sounds, I think that's probably a big question for people. What does this even look like?
The most recent one, sorry, I'm trying to. So Wix always starts at the dashboard and there's some neat things you can do based on Wix does have its own SEO. So you can go in and answer questions, make the, you can click on that.
I was gonna ask a question about SEO.
Yes,
Now that Google has changed their analytics,
yep,
you said that SEO doesn't work as it used to.
yep.
What works now?
What works now is the frequency of updates, the links to you. So
Okay.
if I look at you specifically, Joe, I would work as many local businesses that you could have connect to you as possible and share links back and forth.
Mhm.
As many different booking sites as link back to you as possible. Those are important things. And then having the keywords of make sure you are motel and hotel,
Yeah.
then those aren't just in keywords for the website, but those are in the copy of your website throughout.
Mhm.
The
Not
copy being the
overdone.
body?
Yeah, the
Okay.
text on your website.
Okay.
And saying that
Okay.
throughout. It is what it looks at now, but mostly. It's the amount of traffic driven between websites to verify that this is a real site. Versus it used to just search the keywords that you would enter in your text and. The more you were related to that, and then the more traffic your site had, the more it would build that site up. The other thing that what really shifted, and the reason it did make a big shift in Google and SEO, is they went much more local. So Google was huge, right? So if I was here in Pelican and I searched hotel, it was gonna give me hotel in the country.
Right.
Now, when I'm here, I'm gonna get the hotels near me.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so that's what shifted, was how they qualified that search in those areas. And so, same thing, like I want coffee shop. It's not gonna give me a coffee shop in California now, it gives me the 5 closest to me.
Okay. I have another question.
Yeah.
So if I search on Bing, but you're registered with Google Business, is there
Yeah.
like a separate Bing business?
I don't know if Bing has,
Or are there
Yeah,
others,
Google
or is Google kind of like the
currently
mainstay?
Google's the mainstay. Bing is starting to make some inroads because of the AI search that they have.
Because I noticed that Bing has its own AI now,
Yeah.
and so I was wondering if they would direct towards Bing-based business as opposed to Google businesses. So if you're not searching Google, if you're using an alternate engine, are you gonna still get
So
rated on this?
SEO is universal, but
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Google
Analytics,
Ads.
or
If you have a marketing company and you're buying Google Ads, you can also buy Microsoft Ads, and that gets you on Bing. They have less traffic, but it's strong. So when I was in e-commerce, we spent like 10% of our budget on Microsoft, and it had better return than the 90% of our well. The 10% was strong, like click-through wise,
Yeah.
but if we put more budget to it, there just wasn't enough traffic to get more people.
Okay,
You know what I
you
mean?
followed the ceiling where it was.
Right, but that was just as strong dollar for dollar as Microsoft was, but we just couldn't spend much on Bing because there wasn't enough traffic.
Okay.
But SEO was universal.
I think, yeah, the SEO will be universal across all, but advertising wise, and if you look, I know last year, I don't know where we're at, because I think since AI and Bing, that Bing's starting to gain market share, but DuckDuckGo was the second most common browser. And that one, because of the anonymity, it doesn't have the localized search, it doesn't have the immediate results, so your SEO is gonna be more important if somebody's using like a DuckDuckGo than Google, which is using your data from where you've been and what you just said and who you talked to the night before to show you search
Right.
results, right?
That's right.
Versus a DuckDuckGo, which is just gonna give you the search there. I haven't dove much into Bing to know where they're at, but it's gonna be,
So you're saying DuckDuckGo doesn't collect your data?
well, they say they don't, but they do, so. But they're better at saying they don't. It's like Apple, is safer, but they still collect all the data.
Yeah, like Google, you talk about something and your ad is in your
Oh, right.
Facebook or your whatever next, they can predict what you're gonna say before you finish your sentence.
That's my favorite meme was, my favorite way to shop is to talk about what I want and then open Facebook the next day. Don't have to go anywhere.
That's
Good.
funny.
It works, yes, it works. So under the search engine optimization on Wix, they'll lead you through different things like keywords, what things can you do?
Mhm.
And does it really make a difference? Probably not. I'm not gonna dive into ours, but it can help. Wix does offer all the other. And you can buy everything else through them. That's their job, is to sell you. Do you need Google ads? You want to do your Facebook ads through your Wix site? You can do all those other things. We do use the email marketing. It's as cheap as using like MailChimp or some of those. And then everything's living on the same site. So, but it depends on how you use.
And the benefit of doing the ads and the email through your website would be that the website is constantly changing. So is that correct?
No,
No.
not necessarily. It would be to keep everything in one place,
Okay,
but it would depend on how, on what you want, and how you want to have your interactions be. Do you want Wix to be the middleman, or would you rather be on Facebook or Instagram and doing that? Or do you just want one place to log in
okay.
and take care of everything on one? So we don't use those. I can't speak too much on there. We do use the Wix store to sell stuff, process payments. We do use like the blog a little bit on Wix, but they do have their analytics. You can see your visitors, you can get a traffic overview, see real time, see your sales, those things.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna dive into ours, but we'll show you the editor of the site. But so we go in and edit. Eventually it will load. So we can move, this is an image, but if we want to move that image around, wherever we want, it's as simple as clicking and moving the image. We screwed up. It's as simple as Command Z, just like everywhere else. You don't need to do anything. This is our Instagram feed. This is as simple as going up and saying under site design. I think this is an app. So we can go to the Wix app marketplace and add, what do we need? Services. Oh, we have a hotel, we want reservations. They have it in that marketplace. You can add that directly to your site. I guess I was looking at Instagram, so I think that's actually under. Here's my ad. Yeah. Oh, be the plus sign, sorry, but we can add to the site. You have. Do you want to add another strip, which are what these are called in Wix? These are just strips. You can change an ad. You can make these with motion. Do different changes. Like, zoom out here. You can see like this is more of a splash page website, so everything's on one, but we're basically using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strips in our navigation bar is what it makes. So very simple to set up. You put the strips in, change the images out to what you want. Put your plug in.
So if you wanted to create an image in Canva, you can just import that into here.
Yep. Exactly.
Do you pay more for the website based on the things that you add to it?
You do not unless you're adding something from their app marketplace, you do,
Okay.
there are things, so, or you're gonna add the email marketing, or you're gonna add the, like. Everything is a plan that has to have more.
Okay,
And again, you can create the basic, we could have this as a free site.
Mhm.
With, and it would just say created on Wix at the top or
Oh,
bottom,
okay,
but all the other technology side would be the same.
okay,
And it's a way to come in and, like, this one I just changed 2 weeks ago, so I have the old site. And I just created a new one and made all the modifications and then transferred our paid plan over to
this.
the new site we created, so.
Do you feel like having a chat bot is effective?
It depends on what. Again, you know, depends on your usage, so if you're a customer service heavy, or you need a customer service response, so a retail store, something along those lines that gets. Frequent questions on, you know, what's the size, how does this shirt fit? Or do you have the size chart, or what size is your medium? Then a chatbot can be very effective answering those questions back. Having the chat message where it goes directly to a salesperson could be very valuable for, like, say, a software company. Or like QuickBooks is another, the software as a service one, like. They have theirs where you can chat with the thing to get questions answered, but once it can't answer your question, then you can click call me back, right?
Yeah.
And click onto the phone number, and they'll call you in 5 minutes or whatever.
Live agent
So
or something.
exactly, yeah. I would rather see that than have a phone where you are saying live agent, speak to a real person, you know, over and over. Like,
Somebody
yeah.
talk to him.
So, but for a sign company, we're not gonna have a chat bot. The response, our questions are, they're all over the board. It could be anything
Too
that
direct.
comes in, yeah.
Yeah.
So. That's everything. So I did talk about the mobile. So on Wix, you just click this button here and it's gonna show you the mobile version of your site.
that's nice.
That is nice.
And so you can see, like, these were next to each other on the real website. The navigation was on the side of this, now it's in a mobile menu. But you can see how everything lays out, and I need to change the size of something or where something's placed. And you can change it in mobile and it won't affect
The
desktop
website,
mobile.
oh, that's nice, I was wondering about that, that is nice.
Yeah.
So it knows when it comes in, whether you're searching, somebody else is searching for your site off of a mobile or off of a desktop.
Yeah,
And it automatically does that.
automatically serves out those. That's one of the biggest advantages to me of Wix for small businesses. It's just super easy to use. And if you can create the website and you can share you can choose people who are admins to your site, or you can share that site between people, or have 5 or 6 people with access. If you have a team that updates, or maybe you have somebody who writes the blog and they have access to that, and somebody else updates your team page depending on the size of the company, or some of those things. So you can have multiple people who have access who can come in and change, and it's easy enough for anyone to change. You know, if we're gonna change the text, it is really just like Word. And we're gonna edit that text and we can change the font size, we can change the color.
Mhm.
It's
Nice.
super easy to use. So. If you want to get complicated, you can, there are ways, like, you can go into dev mode and you can do programming in the back end. If you want, so you can add custom features to your site, that's an option there, but. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it yourself.
There you go.
Yeah, unless you know what you're doing,
Yeah,
but you can go in there, so. Yeah, I don't want to show necessarily a preference towards Wix. I mean, I encourage people to experiment. We've found that's best for us. We build the vast majority of our websites using Wix because we don't want to be in the business of updating your website for you. This
Yeah.
way we can build the website and hand it off. But if you need custom features, then that's going to be a whole different story, but
Well, we're at 8:01. This has been a great workshop.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for attending.
yeah. I hope people got some good questions answered.
Yeah, I mean,
There's one
there
more,
are questions.
there's one more that just popped. Oh, we've got thank yous. Do you mind if I do a quick come to our next session, Ryan?
No,
Do you have
go-
anything
go
else
right
you wanted
ahead.
to?
That was my next slide, but I closed
Okay.
my presentation, so.
Okay. So we've been doing this e-commerce essential series, and some of you have been on many of our workshops. We're so glad you joined us tonight. There's one more coming up on December 7th, Tuesday from noon to 1. Protect your data. Now that you've gotten your business online and you're doing more online, we want to make sure you know how to protect yourself. We've got a great team from the SBDC talking about cybersecurity and how to protect your data. It's another free workshop, and they are such a great team. I've learned so much from them at other workshops. So I hope you come join us. If you want to work one-on-one with Ryan or another business consultant, reach out to us and I will help connect you to another consultant. It's free to work with a consultant. They can help you with some of these questions that you might have. Thanks for joining us, and thank you very much, Joe and the Pelican Rapids Chamber for hosting us tonight.
We are glad to have a partnership with the SBDC and be able to bring in this type of customized training for our members.
Thank you. All right, thanks, everyone. All right, and I will end.